The yellow school bus screeched to a halt at the edge of Lincoln High in Denver, its brakes hissing like a tired sigh as the doors groaned open on a crisp September morning. Laughter spilled out first, raucous, reckless, followed by a flood of students, their sneakers scuffing the pavement in a chaotic rush of shoving elbows and familiar cliques. At the back of the pack, 17-year-old Aisha Coleman stepped down last, her worn backpack slung over one shoulder, her dark eyes tracing the gray sprawl of the building ahead. She felt the weight of the moment pressing against her chest. New school, new city, one last year to endure. Aisha wasn't here to belong. She was here to survive, to clutch that diploma and slip away unnoticed, leaving the whispers of her past 1,200 miles behind in Detroit. The thin mountain air stung her lungs as she took a steadying breath, her fingers tightening around the strap. Lincoln High loomed like a fortress. 3 stories of cold concrete, its windows glinting under the Colorado sun, not so different from the crumbling brick walls she'd left behind. Same chaos in the halls, same unwritten rules. Head down, mouth shut, trouble dodged, that had been her shield through every school before this one. Every time her mom's job yanked them across state lines. But beneath her quiet stride, a flicker of dread stirred. Denver was supposed to be a fresh start, yet the ache of being seen, judged, already gnawed at her. Aisha tugged her hoodie closer, her heart beat a soft drum against her ribs, and stepped toward the entrance. 1 year, she told herself, just 1 year to fade into the noise. But deep down, she knew invisibility was a hope, not a promise. Aisha Coleman had barely made it through her first 3 days at Lincoln High in Denver before the air shifted, thick with the sting of scrutiny she'd hoped to outrun. At 17, she knew how to shrink into herself, head low, step silent. But that didn't stop 16-year-old Lauren Pierce from locking onto her like a hawk spotting prey. Lauren, with her sun-bleached hair and a smile sharp enough to cut glass, ruled the sophomore clique with a queen's confidence. Her every word a decree echoed by the hall's 1,500 students. It started small, a snicker in third-period English, loud enough to ripple across the room, her blue eyes glinting as they met Aisha's across the 20-foot stretch of desks. By Wednesday, the whispers followed Aisha like shadows, soft, slicing murmurs about her faded jeans, her quiet voice, her skin 2 shades darker than most in this mile-high city. Lauren's voice carried over the chatter at lunch, a mocking lilt. Does she even talk, or is she just decoration? The cafeteria's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, amplifying the heat creeping up Aisha's neck, the ache of being dissected by strangers. She clenched her tray, knuckles tight, her stomach twisting, not from fear, but from the familiar burn of being cornered. Lauren leaned back in her seat 10 feet away, smirking, certain she found an easy mark to parade for a court. Aisha's chest tightened with a mix of exhaustion and defiance. She'd moved 1,200 miles from Detroit to escape this, yet here it was again, different face, same game. She swallowed the lump in her throat, eyes fixed on her untouched apple, willing herself to stay still. But beneath her calm, something simmered, a quiet storm Lauren couldn't see. One Aisha wasn't ready to unleash, not yet. By the end of her first week at Lincoln High in Denver, Aisha Coleman had mapped the battlefield, but Lauren Pierce wasn't fighting alone. She had a posse straight out of a teen movie audition. At 16, Lauren strutted the halls like a pint-sized dictator, flanked by her loyal minions. 15-year-old Sophie Grant, all giggles and bubblegum, and 14-year-old Mia Torres, whose side eye could slice through a 3-inch steel plate. They trailed Lauren like shadows across the 200-foot stretch of locker-line chaos, their whispers buzzing louder than the mile-high stadium on game day. But the real entertainment came with the boys, 18-year-old Jake Pierce, Lauren's hulking senior brother, a linebacker with a jawline chiseled for the big screen, and a grin that screamed, "I dare you." Then there was 17-year-old Diego Vega, wiry and fast-talking, the kind of guy who'd narrate his own life in real time just to hear the echo. Aisha caught the mid-performance on Friday, posted up near her locker like a pack of wolves auditioning for a reality show. Jake flexed his 6'2" frame, tossing a football 10 feet up and catching it with a smirk, while Diego spun a wild tale about outrunning a mall cop on a 5-mile chase. Probably fiction, but the sophomores ate it up. Lauren tossed her hair, orchestrating the chaos, her voice cutting through. "Look at her, pretending she's invisible. Sophie cackled, Mia smirked, and Diego threw in a mock salute. Welcome to Denver, new B. Aisha kept her head down, twirling her lock, but a tiny grin tugged at her lips. Entertaining as they were, this circus act didn't know she'd seen worse. For now, she let them play their parts, popcorn not included. Lunchtime at Lincoln High in Denver turned into a full-on showdown by the second week, and Aisha Coleman found herself center stage in a cafeteria circus she hadn't auditioned for. The 300-square-foot room hummed with chatter under flickering lights until 16-year-old Lauren Pierce strutted in, her posse in tow, ready to crank the drama to 11. Aisha sat alone at a wobbly table 15 feet from the chaos, sipping her soda, when Lauren's voice sliced through the noise like a bad reality TV host. Well, Denver's mystery girl graces us with her silence. 15-year-old Sophie Grant snorted, nearly choking on her fries, while 14-year-old Mia Torres leaned in with a dramatic, shy or just too cool for us? The crowd of 200 students perked up, heads swiveling like they bought tickets to the Lauren show. Then came 18-year-old Jake Pierce, towering at 6'2", sauntering over to loom over Aisha's table with a grin worthy of a toothpaste ad. Maybe she's just slow, he drawled, flexing for effect. 17-year-old Diego Vega, never one to miss a cue, chimed in, Yo, Jake, bet she's plotting her Oscar-worthy comeback right now. Laughter erupted, echoing off the cinder block walls, as Lauren flicked Aisha's soda can with a flourish, sending it tipping 3 inches across the tray in a fizzy mess. The room froze, waiting for tears or a meltdown, primetime gold. Aisha exhaled, slow and steady, then stood, grabbing her tray like she was exiting a boring movie. She dumped it in the trash 20 feet away, turned and, plot twist, laughed. A soft, unbothered chuckle that hit Lauren, like a pie in the face. The crowd's giggles faltered. Diego muttered, what? And Lauren's smirk twitched. Round 1, Aisha, unintentionally hilarious. While the cafeteria at Lincoln High in Denver buzzed with Lauren Pierce's latest lunchtime spectacle, 17-year-old Aisha Coleman carried a secret that could have flipped the script into a blockbuster action flick. Back in Detroit, 1,200 miles away, she'd grown up dodging punches in her dad's gym, a 2,000-square-foot sweatbox where ex-boxer Marcus Coleman turned scrappy kids into ring-ready warriors. From age 8, Aisha had danced around heavy bags, her 5-foot, 4-frame weaving through sparring sessions with grown men who'd laugh, until she landed a jab that snapped their heads back 6 inches. Marcus, all 6 foot, one of grizzled muscle, drilled her in footwork and focus, barking, You're not here to play, kid. You're here to win. She clocked hours perfecting hooks and dodging haymakers, her fists a blur under the flickering lights of that gritty 20 by 20 ring. Now in Denver, that past simmered beneath her quiet stare, a hidden superpower Lauren's crew couldn't even dream of. Picture it. Sophie Grant giggling like a hyena, Mia Torres tossing sass from 10 feet away, Jake Pierce flexing his linebacker biceps, and Diego Vega spinning tall tales. None of them knew they were picking a fight with a one-girl action movie. Aisha could have turned that spilled soda into a scene. Imagine her flipping the table 3 feet into the air, spinning mid-step, and pinning Jake with a stare that says, Next! Instead, she laughed, a low, cool sound that echoed like a mic drop. Lauren's smirk faltered. Diego's what the hung in the air, and the 200-strong audience swapped popcorn-worthy whispers. Did she just laugh? Aisha's secret wasn't out, not yet, but the tension crackled like a trailer for the main event. Roll credits. Aisha Coleman, the silent slugger. The air at Lincoln High in Denver thickened by week 3, turning every hallway into a live-action drama starring 16-year-old Lauren Pierce, hell-bent on breaking 17-year-old Aisha Coleman, like a reality TV contestant cracking under pressure. Lauren, fueled by the cafeteria flop, upped the ante. Think Mean Girls meets a WWE grudge match. In gym class, 15-year-old Sophie Grant and 14-year-old Mia Torres turned dodgeball into a 50-foot gauntlet, accidentally slamming Aisha with elbow jabs and hip checks hard enough to shove her 5 feet off course. Sophie's squeaky, "Oops, my bad," rang out like a bad sitcom laugh track, while Mia smirked, twirling her ponytail like a villain mid-monologue. Aisha brushed it off, her face a blank slate, dodging balls with yawn-worthy ease that made the girl's antics look like amateur hour. Then came 18-year-old Jake Pierce, swaggering onto the basketball court, his 6'2" bulk snatching the ball from Aisha every chance he got, slamming into her with 200 pounds of linebacker glee. "Can't hang, new girl," he taunted, grinning as 17-year-old Diego Vega howled. "She's got the skills of a toddler on a tricycle." The 30-foot gym echoed with their cackles, Lauren watching from the bleachers, arms crossed, waiting for Aisha to snap, like a twig under a truck tire. But Aisha, she dribbled on, unfazed, her bored shrug a silent mic drop that had the crew fuming. Picture it. Lauren's posse stomping around like cartoon bullies, sweat dripping, while Aisha floated to like a ninja in a slapstick comedy, untouched, unbothered, and stealing the scene without a word. The harder they pushed, the more they looked like clowns in a circus they didn't control. Cue the popcorn. This was getting good. That night, after dodging Lauren's posse like a pro, 17-year-old Aisha Coleman slumped at the kitchen table of their cramped Denver apartment, 5,280 feet above sea level and 1,000,000 miles from peace. Her untouched plate of mac and cheese stared back as her dad, 42-year-old Marcus Coleman, leaned against the counter, pouring coffee into a chipped mug with the swagger of a retired action hero. His 6-foot, one frame cast a shadow across the 10-foot room, sharp eyes flicking to Aisha's clenched fists. "Spill it, kid," he said, voice low like a coach prepping for the big game. Aisha sighed, replaying the gym class circus. Sophie's elbow jabs, Jake's ball-stealing stunts, Diego's wisecracks, all 200 pounds of nonsense piling up. "I don't want to fight," she muttered, her tone tighter than a drum. Marcus smirked, sipping his coffee like he was auditioning for Tough Dad. "The movie. But you're picturing it. Lauren's crew eating pavement, right?" Aisha's glare snapped up, caught. He chuckled, setting the mug down with a clink. "I trained you to dodge punches, not egos. Those fists of yours could drop a linebacker 10 feet back." She rolled her eyes, but the memory of the Detroit gym days, her weaving through sparring partners like a 5-foot tornado, danced in her head. Marcus leaned in, all serious now. "Don't start, Aisha, but if they push you off a cliff, you finish it. Make and regret stepping into the ring." She exhaled, tension easing like a plot twist settling in. He grinned, tossing her a napkin like a prop. "You're no pushover. You're a Coleman. If it's go time, make it a knockout worthy of a highlight reel." Aisha smirked, picturing Lauren's face meeting her fist. Cue the training montage. This was her show now. The final bell at Lincoln High in Denver unleashed a Friday showdown that turned the back lot behind the gym into a 100-square-foot stage for a teen blockbuster. 16-year-old Lauren Pierce had spread the word like a hype man on a megaphone. After school, no teachers, just a beatdown for 17-year-old Aisha Coleman. By 3:15 p.m., a crowd of 30 students ringed the cracked pavement, phones out, ready for viral gold. Lauren stood center stage, arms crossed, smirking like a villain in a bad sequel, flanked by 15-year-old Sophie Grant and 14-year-old Mia Torres. Their giggles a cheesy soundtrack. 18-year-old Jake Pierce cracked his knuckles, his 6'2" shadow looming, while 17-year-old Diego Vega paced, muttering, "Time for the main event." Aisha strode in, calm as a ninja crashing a clown convention. Her warning, "You don't want this," hanging in the air like a dramatic pause. Lauren laughed. "Oh, we'll see," and cued Jake, who swung a meaty fist like a slow-motion prop. Aisha sidestepped 2 feet, smooth as butter, leaving him stumbling into thin air. Cue the crowd's "ooh." Diego charged next, all bravado and zero chill, aiming a wild punch. Aisha caught his wrist mid-swing, spun him 180 degrees in a flash, and locked his arm back, so fast he yelped like a cartoon dog, dropping 5 feet to his knees. She released him, stepping back with shrug as the audience gasped. Phone shaking. Jake weaves on the ground. Diego clutched his arm, and Lauren's smirk melted into a flop sweat freeze frame. Aisha's cool, told ya. Echoed like a mic drop, turning the Bullies into a blooper reel. The crowd buzzed, half stunned, half cheering. As Aisha walked off, credits rolling on Lauren's busted script. The dust settled behind Lincoln High's gym in Denver as the sun dipped below the Rockies, casting a 50-foot shadow over cracked pavement where 17-year-old Aisha Coleman had just flipped the script. 16-year-old Lauren Pierce stood frozen. Her smugness shattered like a cheap prop after Aisha's swift takedown of 18-year-old Jake Pierce and 17-year-old Diego Vega. The crowd of 30 students, phones still aloft, buzzed with whispers, half awe, half disbelief. As 15-year-old Sophie Grant and 14-year-old Mia Torres shrank back, their giggles replaced by wide-eyed silence. Aisha stepped forward, her 5'4" frame steady, and faced Lauren, voice low but cutting to the 10-foot gap like a blade. You thought this was about power, but real strength isn't pushing people down. It's standing up when they try. Lauren's breath hitched, the words stinging deeper than the 1,200-mile move Aisha had made from Detroit. Jake groaned, clutching his ribs, while Diego nursed his twisted arm, their bravado crumbling under the weight of a lesson they hadn't signed up for. Aisha didn't gloat. She didn't need to. She leaned in just 2 feet from Lauren and murmured, "You've got no hold over me, and you never will." Letting go of the tension, she turned and walked away, leaving Lauren to stew in the wreckage of her own making. The crowd parted, some nodding, others staring. As the truth sank in, bullying doesn't crown you king. It just built a throne of sand. Lauren's reign, built on fear and 200 mocking voices, toppled in minutes, teaching her what Aisha already knew. Power isn't taken by force. It's earned through resilience. As Aisha's footsteps faded, the lesson echoed louder than the cheers. You don't break the unbreakable, and you don't rule by breaking others. Monday morning dawned crisp over Lincoln High in Denver, the 5,280-foot altitude amplifying a shift that rippled through its 1,500 students. 16-year-old Lauren Pierce strode down the 200-foot hallway, chin high, her designer backpack slung like armor, but the whispers trailing her weren't praise. They were questions, edged with doubt. The showdown behind the gym, just 72 hours ago, had flipped the script. 17-year-old Aisha Coleman, once the invisible newbie, now sat alone at her cafeteria table 20 feet from Lauren's usual throne, eating her sandwich with a calm that drew eyes. Students lingered near her, some tossing nods. 2 jocks on the basketball team even tipped their caps as they passed, a quiet salute across the 300-square-foot room. Lauren's grip tightened on her tray. Her crew, 18-year-old Jake Pierce, 17-year-old Diego Vega, 15-year-old Sophie Grant, and 14-year-old Mia Torres, hovered silently, their usual swagger deflated. Aisha's words still burned in Lauren's ears. "You've got no hold over me." That wasn't just a win. It was a lesson carved in the pavement. Control isn't loud or cruel. It's steady, unshakable. A shadow fell over Lauren's table, and she looked up. Aisha stood there, 5'4" and unflinching. "We're done," she said, simple as a door closing, her voice carrying across the 10-foot gap to the dozens watching. Lauren's throat locked. The room held its breath. Aisha turned away, leaving Lauren to face the truth. Her reign had been a house of cards, toppled not by fists but by someone who refused to bend. The real takeaway lingered as Aisha sat back down, unbothered. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned, and bullying builds nothing that lasts. Lauren stared at her tray. The crown she'd worn for years now a ghost. Lesson learned too late.